the acts of 2021, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, signed into law on June 16, 2021. This meeting will be conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance by members of the public will be permitted. First order of business is approval of minutes of January 5th, 2023. Does anybody have any edits?
I didn't find anything.
Nothing. Okay.
I don't think I was there. Is that correct?
That is correct.
It is correct.
Perfect.
So oh no, there's three. No. Yeah,
Yep,
there's three of you.
three.
Okay, we're good.
Yep. So do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of January 5th, 2023 as written?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor via roll call vote?
Zulik,
Yes.
Harrington,
Yes.
Gregory,
Dane,
Passamato.
Yes. All right, next is approval of the minutes of January 26th, 2023. And Rushy, we're there for this one. Any edits?
No, I'm still amazed that I see stuff that I sat through the meeting and I'm still learning stuff. So I thought they were great.
Laura does a good set of minutes. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah. All right, so hearing of no edits or need for changes, I hear a motion to approve the minutes of January 26th, 2023.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor by a roll call vote?
Zulik,
Yes.
Harrington,
Yes.
Gregory,
yes.
Passamato.
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay, next up is public hearing. This is to amend the order conditions of 325 Turnpike Road. Got to find my reading here. There we go. In accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Southfield Wetlands Bylaw, the Southfield Conservation Commission will conduct a public hearing on Thursday, February 16, 2023 at 7:00 p.m. via virtual Zoom meeting. The commission will consider an amendment to an approved order of conditions, DEP number 290-1083 at 325 Turnpike Road, map 26, lots 10 and 2 for the applicant Ken's Foods, Inc. The project description is a modification to current order conditions to construct a 714-foot-long sound barrier fence.
Hi, Mr. Chairman and Commission. Good to see you.
One second, please.
Yep, sure.
So Kevin, are you?
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Oh, yeah.
Melissa's gonna demote me out of here, so I'll see you after. Yeah.
Melissa is muted.
Thank you, Kev.
Okay, he's moving over. It just took a second to load.
Okay,
Are we all set, Mr. Chairman? Or
we are now.
all right,
You go
great.
ahead.
And do we have a quorum for this meeting? We do.
Yep.
Thanks. Yeah, we got three.
We do.
Right.
Yep. I double checked. Don't worry. We did the sanity check.
Thanks, Melissa. It's good to see you all again. We're here to because of the ongoing efforts to help with concerns about noise from the operations there in the truck yard for budding properties to put up a sound barrier. And if I may, I can take a few minutes and walk everybody through it. If you would like, if I could take over may I share my screen, Melissa? Thank you.
Yep.
Let's see here. Okay, I trust you can see my a plan on the screen now.
It's on its way.
Okay. It says I'm
Got it.
sharing now at
I
this
have
end.
it. I have it.
All right, great, good. This is just a real start off the overall of the site. As you know, we have an order of conditions for the expansion of the warehouse. The bottom of the sheet, for those who may not be familiar, is Route 9. North is up on this plan, and all the plans I'll show you, and east is to the right. So this is the right here, about here's the driveway from Route 9 into the site. And this is the large truck yard to the west of the existing warehouse where all the loading and activities happen. Zooming in a bit, this is the west yard right here. And a great deal of effort has, and by the way, Bill Pizzoni might join us. He had a conflict here, and he's been in the hospital on and off recently. He may not be able to join us, but he may pop in. Melissa, you may look for him on the list. And please promote him to the meeting if he comes in. This is the, like I said, this is the west yard, truck yard, and the proposal is a 16-foot high sound barrier that runs north to south. I'll take you along the outer edge of this driveway curve up here at the north, at the northwest corner of the site, and then angles off and then runs along the west edge of the truck yard, and then closes down here in the southwest corner of the truck yard, down in that area. And the nature of the construction is sort of foundation, round precast foundations that get augured, the holes get augured, placed, and then posts come out of them, and these panels are laid on beams that and attached to beams that come up out of the foundation. And the foundations are 15 feet on center. And let me just get you first for a little bit of a walk of what's going on in this area wetland wise. I know that Joe, and thank you for getting out there, Joe. What's going on there, that there's a large wetland to the west of the truck yard. And then there are a series of drainage channels that were built for over land country drainage that run along the edge of the driveway at that curve. And then one of those finger-like channels extends towards the west, to the east, towards the yard. And then there's another one that runs parallel further away from the yard. And then down here in this sort of the south west, almost off of this drawing is the and actually off this drawing is that intermittent stream that runs around and through the overall site. So that's the general lay of the land. I'm going to zoom in at the driveway curve on the next sheet. The planning board asked for some additional information on it, so we prepared this plan enlargement, which I think is helpful to everyone. The wall runs along, and it's going to be built in what is existing today as paved area. And what we will do is basically take the pavement out, build the wall in a gravel area on that edge, and then cut in on the inside of the curve and add pavement to the inside so we can still maintain the access around that northwest corner of the building. This is work that's within the 20-foot no disturb zone. And so we're asking for a waiver for that from the commission. As we continue on south along the layout of the wall, after it gets past the south end, the south end of the drainage channel that is developed into a wetland over the last 50 years, then the wall goes off on an angle so that it can then run to the far west edge of the truck yard, about 13 feet off of the backside of the curb is where it's running. that allows us to keep lights and block heater stations and other apparatus that's along this back side of the curb on of that west curb. Again, you can see that it's out in this area here. It's outside the 20-foot. The 20-foot no disturbance zone line is this dark green dash line that I'm following now. I hope you can see the cursor. And then this is that finger channel that, like I said, goes to the east towards the truck area. All the panels on the sound barrier are 15-foot pre-constructed panels that are put in place on top of these piers. We were able to get a 24-foot length, which we propose to bridge across the east peak of point of this wetland here. And so that's another area where we get into the 20-foot no disturbance zone. And what that may look like, we drew a elevation here. This is the slopes are probably, they're slighter than this, but the wetland is approximately 8 feet wide. And we would have one post 8 feet off of it on one side, another 8 feet off of it one side. And then this 24-foot long panel would then be attached to those two posts, bridging over that area and maintaining that linear layout of the wall. I hope you're not getting too dizzy with me jumping around, but I'm back on the overall plan. The wall then continues down until it gets to that southwest corner, and then to enclose the noise generated by the yard, the sound consultant said thought it was important that we then turn that corner. So we then go into the 20-foot no disturbance zone again, outside of the wetland. And again, we've had these piers that are 15 feet on center. I'd like to talk, if I could, for a minute or two about construction of these piers, and though we are rather close, especially up here at the driveway to that wetland, we believe we can we adequately protect it. And of course, the first step, of course, is putting in a good, robust erosion control with a fence anchored by straw wattle at its base. And then just where the piers are, and of course, in some places near the driveway where it curves pavement and be room, we excavate down a bit so that we are self-containing any excavation or any spill soil that comes out as the auger digs these holes down for the precast post foundations. And we proposed, we've provided a description of the phasing of the work that I hope you had a chance to review, in which part of that is, of course, excavating and getting the soil out of this area right of way, because immediately, so that we're not stockpiling soil in the area, because what's going to primarily come back and fill in those areas later is a gravel surface underneath and around the posts where the foundations are. And then the existing grade can be recreated, but instead of it being pavement or lawn in that specific area by the foundations, it is a washed stone. Up in the area by the driveway curve, we think this actually, and we're actually going to be reducing pavement, which we think is a net benefit, reducing the impervious, not measurable. negligible probably in a lot of, but still an improvement nonetheless of because we're going to be taking away about 1,200 square feet and adding about 700 square feet on the inside of the curve. But in these areas, of course, the drainage will continue to head towards the drainage channel, but now it'll be filtered somewhat in that stone gravel, much like the sound wall that was constructed on the northeast corner of the building back several years ago. You may remember that. Some of you have been out the site. Other elements, of course, are we expect in a couple of places there are some mature trees over 6 inches. We think 3 or 4 need to be pruned. Maybe 1 or 2 need to be really removed. And we're proposing to plant a couple, 3 sugar maples and red maples in those areas where we think we're going to be encountering the need to remove some of the tree limbs, and maybe 1 or 2 trees that are in that general area. I do want to, I guess, emphasize the fact that went through quite a bit of quite a process with effort with the neighbors and the Board of Health to come up with, and sound consultants on both for Ken's and for the town and the neighborhood to come up with a design. And we do know that we're asking the commission to waive this no disturbance area, but we believe that this is the best alternative for the sound. And also we think that any other alternative wouldn't do as quite as well. And we ask if the commission would kindly approve this. See my notes here. I guess that's about it. I'd like to, and if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them at this point, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you.
To the screen if anybody wants to go to the plan, I can jump back to it. I know, Joe went out, looked at it, had a good look at things, came up with some good points. We did address them and sent our response earlier today and copied Joe on it. One of them, I think, was a misunderstanding on one of the lines on this plan, and we hope that our responses were okay and helpful.
Yeah, we'll get his update in a second. First question I have, Melissa, is have we received an official request to waive the 20-foot in writing?
I did in the narrative. I'm sorry, Melissa. Go ahead. You were going to answer.
You can go ahead. I think you were going to say what I was. I don't think you submitted the official bylaw request form, but you did request the waiver within the application.
Oh no, I did. I think I did fill out a form.
Okay, I'll double check.
Yeah, I did fill out a form.
Okay,
If
we'll check on that.
If I'm mistaken, we could do that immediately. Sure I did.
You did. Yep, I have it all set.
Thank you.
Okay. And Joe, you have some commentary on this?
Yeah, not
Lucas
too much.
Environmental.
I did get a chance to go out and take a look at the site. The edge of the delineated wetland was staked in the proposed work area. As I had noted in my comments, the swale that the proposed wall is going to run along really is a shallow drainage, jumps like a stormwater feature, not a high quality wetland. It does receive some maintenance appears. It probably is mowed periodically, and also receives some of the snow from plowing of the lot, which I don't know if there was a snow plow plan where snow was allowed to be plowed to, and if that was included in that finding or not. As far as the crossing area, again, it's more of a shallow ditch. I don't have any real issues with that. I did have a question regarding in the southwest corner, why it was angled. The wall was proposed to be angled through the 20-foot no disturb, but that was explained in the request for the waiver, and I'm not a sound engineer, so I really can't comment on that, but apparently it was based on a more effective sound barrier. I did request that the table that had been previously submitted with this application for the expansion of the warehouse be updated with the new disturbance or alteration numbers, or impact area numbers, and that was submitted. And I think, what's proposed for replacement plantings of the one or two trees that may need to be cut is adequate. So I don't really have any major concerns.
May I make a few?
Okay, thank you.
Comments, Mr. Chairman? To Joe?
Excuse me?
May I make a few comments in response to Joe? Some of the issues. The snow
Sure,
storage.
I'm not sure he needs any, but
No, he doesn't. No, I just wanted to let him know. I wanted to again thank him for going out there. Is the snow, fortunately, I think
it doesn't snow here anymore. We don't have to talk about that.
it doesn't snow anymore. Plus,
Not today.
I was going to keep the snow out of that channel now, isn't it? And there is overall snow storage for the overall plan for the expansion that this is being added to. That they need to manage their snow, and Melissa, I know, is on top of that. We got some signage going in, a couple of things, and I was really saying this for the benefit of, for instance, Ms. Zulak, who I wasn't on the commission during the prior project, and then also well, I guess that was it, really. I guess that was really it. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, I know what it was. Yeah, that southwest corner. I had asked if we could turn it 90 degrees so we could stay out of that. And both the sound guys said it needed to be on that angle. That's what I wanted to tell you, Joe.
Did you actually pull that screen up again and look at that corner?
Yeah.
You got my curiosity up now.
Okay. Share the screen, Scott. Here we go. Highlight it and share again. You gotta hit like 3 buttons. All right, Russ. So you want to talk about this area down here?
That's the one I was referring to.
Yeah.
Right, yes. I was just curious to see the angle again.
Yeah, see this, what might be helpful for you, right? I'll put the cursor right on the corner of the pavement right there. That's where that.
Yep,
That's the corner of the pavement that we need to get around.
right.
And something to do with that angle with the sound models from the sources where the trucks are.
So I certainly get that. I was thinking if you could make a short 90-degree run and then run that angle, would keep you out of the wetlands.
A little bit more.
So if you went 90 degrees up right to your cursor and then moved that wall up to there, but on the same angle,
Yeah.
I think you'd actually get more benefit because it'd be longer wall and you stay out of the wetland.
Well, we are out of the wetland, of course, you know that.
Well, I understand that, but you'd stay out of the 20 foot.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure no one
Sure.
misunderstood that, that's all. Yeah. Well, so you're saying come down and then turn 90, then go on that angle.
Correct. right to where your cursor was. It's gonna be right close to that corner of pavement.
Yeah, in
See how
other
you
words,
push everything out on the same angle?
15 feet this way and then go.
Right.
Yeah, well, I'll certainly, if I think we could certainly ask that, I certainly can ask that question, see if we can do that.
Great.
Um,
So the length of that angle is 75 feet, which is 5 panels. Right? So Russ, I think what you're
That's correct.
saying is go 1 panel over,
I think,
1 15-foot panel at a 90 degree,
degrees
Right,
and
toward-
then angle.
yeah, then
4
have
panels
that
or something.
same angle. I think that's what Russ is talking about.
right.
Then you have that.
And in fact, if the wall was 1 panel longer, not my problem.
Yep. I'll ask that question. I think that,
I think it's probably important that the panels remain at their 15-foot length.
yes, they're standard. They're
They're
built that way.
standard, so you're not,
Yeah.
doing something unnatural.
Right.
No, it's a good. It's a good suggestion. I don't know that we're in need of anything else in terms of a filing tonight.
No.
So what we could do is condition that, Russ,
Right.
right? And if the, the sound experts kick that back for whatever decibel reason they come up with.
Yeah.
We could say, since they put the 20-foot waiver in, and we have the reasoning for it, you're asking for a little bit better mitigation. Got that. If they can't do it, then we're
Perfect.
covered anyways.
Yeah, I think
I do have-
it'll probably still be in the 20-foot, but much further away, much further than it is now.
Do have one other thought, and it's really about construction and where you're bridging over that low-level wetland. I think, though, you need to make sure that we're starting the layout from there, because
It is our
any
point. Yeah,
variation,
Russ, it is our point of beginning. It is going that way. And
great.
though these are all 15 feet and that one's 24, there's
Yeah,
There's
right. I get it, but I do this for a living, and
Yeah.
you start drifting a little bit, and they start multiplying, and it adds up. If we just start at the critical point, it's easy.
and that's how this was laid out. That's the point of beginning for the coordinates on the spots.
Perfect.
Don't tile yourself in a corner.
Exactly. Yeah. You end up in the
Oh.
wrong place. Yeah.
Okay. Elizabeth, any comments? Questions?
No, I mean, I do like the idea of that Russ is proposing of, staying away from the barrier area, but I don't know if it's too late down the process to do that.
We can have them take a look at it and condition it that
Yeah.
that's our preference. If they can't, they have the 20-foot waiver in, and
So do we have to approve the waiver today, or can we see if that's possible and then make the approval as needed?
well, if we do that, it's going to delay them 3 weeks,
And
because have to go to our next meeting.
we do need the waiver anyway. I might point out. I probably
Yeah,
should myself, 'cause you
Yeah,
guys-
for other areas, you need the waiver regardless.
Yeah.
But
Scott, are you in front of any other permitting boards for this, or are we just the only one?
We have an open hearing with the planning board. Thank you for asking. And we're meeting with them again next week. The 27th. And we're expecting to, I think they were waiting for you guys, actually, kind of. We expect to close that hearing, I think. I think they were pleased with how the wall turned out and the noise mitigation. I think that was the genesis of it all, was through the planning board. I don't want to characterize them, them being pleased at all, but I was saying that I believe we're there with them.
And just so everyone does know, they did have an independent sound engineer take a look at the documents and did find that they were appropriate for this and were what was agreed upon between Board of Health and Planning. And did meet the abutters' concerns.
Yeah, this went through quite a bit.
Yeah, Melissa, I think we can put Russ's suggestion in there as a condition. You know, we can word that.
Yeah, Scott, do you think if this were to happen, would the resource area impact table need to be updated? Or do you think that the impacts would somewhat remain the same because the area would kind of be the same?
You're talking about with the change that Russ is suggesting?
Mhm.
No, because that it wouldn't really change because that area is in the lawn area already.
Okay.
It's just we're just changing the alignment. That area is all maintained lawn where that is. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, Russ, does that change your opinion?
Just
If it's
making
still
sure I
better.
condition everything if that's the way you guys want to go.
And for those that weren't looking at Russ, he's shaking his head left to right.
I don't, none of it matters at this point. It's just a suggestion, or in fact, if nothing else, we've discussed it. Mr. Doughty can think about this next time when he does a project. Just learning, all of us green from it.
Okay. Is there anybody from the public that has an issue or concern? If there is, raise your hand and Melissa will let you in.
I do not see any.
Okay. And hearing none, I believe we can close the hearing. We hear a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Okay, who wants to be the second?
I'm the second.
Okay. All in favor via roll call vote?
Zulik,
Yes.
Barrington,
He's
gone, yeah, Gregory,
Yes.
Pasamato.
yes.
I have my list and I just read it. All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good night now.
Good night. Okay, next up is NOI and SMP. That's notice of intent and stormwater management permit for 241 to 245 Turnpike Road. It's membership club and car storage in accordance with the provisions of Southfield Stormwater Erosion Control Bylaw, Southfield Zoning Code Chapter 174, Section 13.5, Wetlands Protection Act, Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40. The Southfield Wetlands Bylaw, the Southfield Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Thursday, February 16th, 2023 at 7:10 p.m. via virtual Zoom meeting on the petition of Park Haas 241 LLC for the demolition of existing buildings and development of a two-story membership club and car storage building, map 27, lots 8 and 9.
Are we ready to go?
We are.
Thank you very much. For the record, my name is Dave LaPointe with Beals and Thomas. We have an address of 144 Turnpike Road in Southborough. And with me tonight also from our office is Nathaniel Bouts. We are here representing Park House 241 LLC, who's proposing, as you mentioned, a membership club and car storage garage at the 241-245 Turnpike Road location. I was going to just give you a little bit of an overview of what the actual project is about in terms of the car storage or car condos, as they've been referred to, and then turn it over to Nate to give a little bit of more detailed description of the site design. But the project is, as I mentioned, we've been referring to it as a car condo, where it's a two-story building, approximately 54,000 square feet total, that will house 32 units or 32 garages within the building, 16 on each floor. And there will be condominium units that will be sold to the intent car enthusiasts in the area, where maybe they don't have enough storage for the cars that they may own to store at their house. So they purchase one of these units to be able to congregate with fellow car enthusiasts and store their cars here. And there are a number of these types of facilities in other parts of the country. I can show you some examples if I could share my screen. If you can all see this, this just gives you an idea of what these units are intended to, how they're intended to be utilized. Some of these ones, this is a location that's in Texas. So some of these units are probably a lot larger than what we're proposing here. But the intent, you can see, is to store their collector cars, sports cars, whatever it may be, but then also somewhat customize their spaces. So it can be somewhat of a place for these car enthusiasts, like I said, to kind of congregate and kind of talk cars and enjoy each other's company and whatnot. So there might be some seating areas that they may have in their individual units. In this particular one, this person went a little high tech and added a simulation game of some sort to do a car driving game of some manner. But the overall intent is just to be able to have a place to store their cars and create this club type atmosphere where fellow car owners can come and admire each other's vehicles and whatnot, but basically give them a place to keep them that maybe they don't have that space at their residence. And like I said, these are some facilities, or this example on the screen is a facility that's in Texas. There are a number of others in Texas and other locations, I believe in Florida. The applicant, Parkhouse 241 LLC, their parent company is Transatlantic Investment Management out of Boston. They are developing another site in Waltham that is similar, which would have garage spaces, as well as some units will have some office space, depending on what it is or how large a particular owner may be interested. But they're envisioning that this would be a good use for this site that's been the existing buildings have been vacant for quite a long time. So this site would be redeveloped, put to a good use. And the location they felt was an excellent location, considering it's next door to the Rad Exotic business. And there could be some kind of sharing of clientele and whatnot between those two businesses, as well as obviously the Cadillac dealership across Route 9. Anyway, that's, like I said, just wanted to kind of give you an idea of what the overall use is intended to be, because that's been a little bit of a challenge to kind of get some people to really grasp what they're proposing here. But I can turn it over now to Nate, who will walk through the site plan and the design, and then we can answer some questions at the end.
I have one question before we turn over
Okay.
to Nate.
Yep.
The picture you show here from Texas,
Yep.
there's obviously a couple of lifts there with the cars on top of cars on the bottom. You mentioned 16 condo units on each floor.
Yeah.
How many automobiles could be housed? Could you do what you're seeing in the top picture there?
I'm
Texas?
not so sure that they were envisioning these lifts like is shown in that example. But the units themselves have been described as potentially holding 4 to 6 cars, possibly. Again, it would be dependent on the individual owner if they wanted to include some of these, couches or seating areas, or this type of a apparatus over here may take up floor space. And so it depends on just how they want to kind of customize their individual units. But like I said, the intent was that it could potentially store in the range of 4 to 6 units, 4 to 6 cars per unit.
Okay. And one other question I would have, in the event of any sort of, vehicle leaks, as older cars leak, is there going to be any drains or anything in the floors to catch that sort of thing and contain it so it's not making its way outside into parking lots or finding its way,
Yep.
down the street in
Yes.
terms of country drainage and so forth? Okay.
Yeah, so similar to typical parking garages that you might find in like a office building in Boston or hotel in Boston or wherever. There will be drains in the floors, not only necessarily to pick up any oil spills of any sort, but if they happen to have their car out in the bad weather, they get caught in a rainstorm or something like that, and they come back into their garage, that water wants to drip onto the floor. It goes into these drains and then gets piped out to a tight tank, where that tight tank will collect any of that runoff, and then that will be pumped out occasionally. And normally a floor drain like that in a garage would be piped to a sewer system. But as there's no sewer system in this area and this project will have a septic system, you can't pipe that type of runoff to a septic system. So that is why it has to go to a tight tank, and it'll just, like I said, flow into that. It will collect in there, and then however often is determined, whether it's once a week or once a month, once every couple months, however, wherever the level gets up that it needs to get pumped out and then disposed of offsite.
And whose responsibility is that going to be? Is there an association or something?
Yes, well, so the Park House 241 LLC will own the site still, and they will manage the property. That's the primary business that they're in, as Transatlantic Management is property management. So they will manage the overall property and take care, I'm assuming, things like that in terms of the maintenance of the tight tank and things like that. But I would assume that the condo owners will have some sort of association, and there may be condo fees that will go towards the maintenance of that type of facilities there.
And you mentioned the septic system, so I wasn't expecting that. So are there bathrooms in each of these condo units?
Each of the units may be outfitted with a bathroom. Again, it may depend on the individual owners and how they want to customize it. There will also be a kind of a clubhouse area, if you want to call it that, in the building where the members can gather. It might be the type of thing where they have a big screen TV in there and they all want to come over on a Sunday, and whether it's watch a football game or watch a car race or something like that. So that in that clubhouse area would have at least a bathroom in there. And then as well as probably have small kitchenette type features for making drinks or snacks and things like that.
Okay. Is that the sort of thing I'm seeing in the bottom left picture? Looks like a bunch of bar stools and some sort of a
Yes, exactly.
bar with a
yeah.
television in the background or something.
Yes, exactly. So this is a similar type of the open kind of gathering area for for all the members to come and get together if they wanted to. Whereas some of these other individual pictures are more just individual units. This one here, I'm not entirely sure what that is. That could be just an actual unit, just a really big one, because it looks like a lot of cars could go in that space. But yeah, the intent is to have more of a clubhouse type area like this is shown in that lower left picture. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll stop sharing my screen and then maybe Nate can pull up his to walk through the site plan.
Sure. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. I will share my screen and discuss kind of the site itself. So this is as part of the plans that submitted the grading and drainage plan for your reference. So just to discuss the project site in general and the proposed work. The site is located on 1.8 acres of land to the northwest of the intersection of Turnpike Road and Parkerville Road. As David had mentioned, the site currently has 2 existing buildings, one of which was a office building and a former restaurant, and both have been abandoned for many years now. The work associated with this project involves the demolition of the 2 existing buildings and the existing paved areas on the site, which a majority of the site currently is composed of. As part of the proposed work, as you can see, the construction of a 2-story building, the garage building, and also off-street parking areas and paved drive aisles for vehicular access around the site and into the building. Wetland resource areas consist of a bordering vegetated wetland to the north of the site and its associated buffer zones, the 20-foot no work zone and the 100-foot wetland buffer zone. Impacts within the 100-foot wetland buffer zone include portions of the proposed building, site grading, drive aisles, and the stormwater management systems. Even though this project will result in a net loss and a net decrease of impervious areas from pre to post development, we are still proposing 2 infiltration systems consisting of subsurface chambers. Currently on the site, stormwater runs off in 2 primary locations to the wetland to the north and also draining onto Parkerville Road and getting collected by existing catch basins and drainage infrastructure. And that stormwater is currently undetained and also untreated. So we are proposing to improve stormwater conditions on the site by collecting, treating, and infiltrating stormwater before leaving the site. We'd like to note that we've received the comment letters from the Commission's peer review consultants and currently working on addressing their comments, plan revisions, and responses to them. And with that, we can like to open up the floor for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Question, how did the vehicles get to the second floor?
I knew that was going to come up. So there's a driveway entrance or garage door entrance at the lower level on the right side here, closer to Parkerville Road. And then this drive aisle that goes along the front of the building, between the building and Route 9, as well as the driveway coming off of Route 9, provides access to the second floor. There's no internal driveways or ramps inside the building.
Okay. Yeah, when I saw that feature on the left there, the arrows, I was thinking that there was an upper level entrance. Okay, thank you. Yeah, let's open it up to Lucas, environmental our consultant, for any sort of comments at this point.
Yeah, I did have a chance to go out and look at this site and take a look at the delineation. There were a few flags missing and a few on the ground, but those were generally in the eastern more portion of the wetland, which has a very steep slope and a clearly well-defined edge of wetland. I did have difference of opinion regarding flagging in the area of flags. I think it's A6. A6 is okay, A5, and A2 and A3. A2 and A3 I felt were a little bit low, maybe about 8 feet low. And at A5, between A4 and A6, there's almost a gentle swale, natural swale that kind of goes up gradient in that area. And although there's a lot of invasive species present at that location, I did see a fair amount of wetland vegetation and hydric soils. And I felt that the wetland edge is roughly about 25 feet up gradient of flag A5. It kind of swings up from A4 and A5 to that point, which would bump up the 20-foot no work zone. The rest of the flagging I thought was fine. As I just noted, there was a fair amount of invasive species present at that location. It's true for much of the back of the property. So I recommend a construction phase invasive species management plan for any work that's going to be done at the back of the property that might impact areas that have invasive species. The proposal has a small amount of work within the 20-foot no disturb at the eastern end of the site where along Parkerville Road. I don't know if alternatives were looked at that area for staying out of the 20-foot no build or no work zone. Applicant may want to address that. Granted, it is a shoulder of a road area, but I just didn't know if they looked at alternatives to stay out of the 20-foot zone. The narrative noted that there was no stream on the project site. It looks like actually part of the stream does occur within the property, likely within the eastern portion. It doesn't change anything, just a correction as far as it looks like the stream is actually present on part of the site. And it is an intermittent stream. Noted on the landscape plan that a couple of flowering dogwood plants were proposed. They don't seem to be straight species. I don't know if the commission wanted to discuss plantings of straight species within the buffer zone. I did also note that there was no construction entrance noted on the site plans, and would recommend that construction entrances be shown or describe why they're possibly not needed. And I think that pretty much covers my comments.
All right, thanks. Where's the septic system?
So the septic system is currently still undergoing coordination with the Board of Health.
Okay.
But it is proposed, as you can see, between Turnpike Road and the southern face of the building, staying outside of the 100-foot wetland buffer.
Okay. That's what I was wondering. On the eastern side of the site here, there are two rectangular, I guess, design things that they're right about where your cursor is. Go to the right and you see it. Yeah. What is going on in that area?
So these are retaining walls. Retaining walls on the site are proposed in 3 locations. As you ramp up from Turnpike Road to get to the second floor.
But back to the east, why are those features that shaped? What's going on in there?
Parking spaces.
Oh,
okay.
yes.
Parking spaces.
The layout of materials plan may be better. Yep, to show.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay,
For
parking
the parking.
spaces.
Yep.
So the only parking spaces on this proposed site, aside from those being indoors, are those in that feature area there, and then to the south again,
Correct.
on either side of the entrance,
Mhm.
off of Parkerville Road. Okay. Melissa, do we have a DEP number?
We do not.
We do not. Okay.
And we're still in the midst of a public hearing process with the planning board as well.
Okay.
And I think Fussin O'Neill had some comments regarding the stormwater permit as well that still need to be addressed.
Yep.
All right. Other commission members? Comments, questions?
Yeah, you covered mine. I was looking for the septic tank too. So
Okay. Yeah. I could see the, the drainage structures and, okay. Anybody else? Commissioners? No. I don't think we have anybody from the public here, do we?
Not a one.
Not a one, okay. So I guess the next steps are responses to our consultants' observations, questions, and issues. And we'll have to continue to, will we continue to the next hearing or one further out while you go through the process of the permitting?
So our next meet, we meet every 3 weeks. So our next one is March 9th, if that helps you.
I think we were thinking that we were going to try to address the comments and get you revisions in time to be able to be on the March 9th meeting. Yes. Yep. But before we continue, can I just ask about the comment from Lucas regarding the wetland flag A5? By moving that wetland flag up gradient more, the 20-foot no build zone goes with it, which would then put our outfall from our subsurface stormwater system in that 20-foot no build zone. We were being very careful to try to stay out of it as much as we could based on the wetland line we were using. But we're kind of at this point wondering if would you entertain a waiver request to allow that outfall within the 20-foot no build area as a result of the change to the wetland flag?
Joe, how many feet do you think that flag has to move?
I think about 25 feet.
Oh, a lot.
Yeah.
So that flag's going to be pretty much where the outflow is now. And then you got to get 20 feet off of that.
Right.
Is it just one flag? Is it like a
It would be
point? Or
just
there are
one.
other-
It'd be just one flag. It would go from flag 6 to a revised A5 and back down to A4, essentially. Yeah.
Why do you think there's a triangle there?
There's like a little natural drainage coming down in that area.
You can even kind of see it on the topos. The elevations that are right there and how that kind of dips forward towards Route 9.
Oh, okay. So your stormwater structure is underground, right?
Yes, but we're kind of pinched if at the Route 9 end of the chambers that are subsurface, because we have that retaining wall there. So we can't really just pick the whole thing up and shift it further south.
I think it
The
might
chamber be changed wider and less length and wider. That fitted in there.
I think if you guys can outline some alternatives and maybe put a narrative together, usually it's a lot easier for the commission to kind of determine if there's no
Sure.
practical alternative, then they have some rationale. But I like what I think Joe's thinking of, size, if it can go wider versus farther, but kind of outlining maybe even other areas and the setbacks for your various structures would be nice to kind of lay out.
Yeah, that's the other piece, is that there's setbacks from the property line, from the building. So we're kind of squeezed in that spot a little bit. But sure, we can put together some kind of rationale behind it.
Can you spin it around and put it on the north side? and have the outflow go to the west?
Oh,
Just, I don't know. You guys take a look at it.
yeah, yeah,
We're not just gonna design it now, but,
right, right, right.
um, yeah, I mean, moving that flag 25 feet, we end up not having we have a permanent disturbance, and we also have a disturbance where we have the outfall from that drainage structure, you know, really, really close to the wetland edge.
Mhm.
It's really not that attractive.
Mhm.
So, all right. So what I heard you say is you think you can get all your materials in by our deadline to meet the March 9th hearing date. All right. So given that, we'll have to continue to March 9th. So with that, do I hear a motion to continue this hearing to March 9th?
So
At
moved.
what time, Melissa? You'll figure that out? Okay, I heard so moved. Is there a second?
Okay.
Second,
Okay, all in favor by roll call vote?
Zulik,
yes.
Barrington,
Yes.
Gregory,
Yes,
Passamato.
Yes.
I think you'd be second as of right now, so probably about 7:10 again.
Okay,
Which means like 7:30.
Yeah.
okay,
Well, not all the time, but it depends on the one before you.
sure, sure.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
Great,
Thank
thanks a
you.
lot.
All right. So next up is request for certificate of compliance. DEP number 290-745 22A Lovers Lane.
Yeah, so they were in the attendees, but they left with the mass exodus after Ken's, I guess. So for 22A Lovers Lane, just for a recap before I let Joe take it over, we had previously discussed this I think, a year and a half, 2 years ago. We found this was the house that had the structural issues, and so we asked for an updated as-built because the as-built we had was like a septic as-built from 20 plus years ago that didn't have any elevations or the deck or the driveway. So since then, the new owners have been working on their own to now hire someone to finish out this process. So they've resubmitted, and I will let Joe take away his findings. The only additional thing I will add is that the washout areas that hadn't been removed when Joe went have since been removed.
All right, I did get out to the site on January 2nd. Generally well stabilized with the lawn. I did see one area on the western end of the property near the retaining wall that's shown there, right around the edge of the 100-foot buffer where there was some thin grass and minor erosion on the slope, but nothing real significant. I think maybe some seed in the spring will help that. Nothing near the wetlands as far as erosion. There was no encroachment beyond the wall. I know the last time I was out and looked at it, there was some construction debris and the like beyond at the base of the retaining wall in the back. That's all been cleaned up. Previously it had appeared that the loop driveway was in the buffer zone. The current as-built shows that it is not. The deck in the back looks like it's, slightly closer to the wetland than what was approved, maybe about a foot or so. That's just kind of scaling on the plan, but not a significant difference. As Melissa had mentioned, the additional information that was missing on the as-built plan has been added. So I didn't really have any major concerns with the site.
Okay. Any questions or comments from commission members? No? All right, sounds like we can issue the cert. So do we hear a motion to issue the certificate of compliance for 22 Lovers Lane? Is there
So moved.
a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Zulik,
Yes.
Barrington,
Yes.
Gregory,
Yes.
Crossmano.
Yes. Okay. The S&P bylaw and regulations update changes and town meeting warrant.
Yes, so Ben and I went to the planning board meeting on February 6th and discussed with them our proposed changes. I also talked about the floodplain and wetland bylaw that I updated to be consistent with the FEMA standards for the National Flood Loss Program as well. But for the SMP bylaw and regulations, I think overall we had very supportive reactions. They did continue the public hearing as they typically do. They usually don't close them until right before or at town meeting. We only had one commenter from Jack Bartolini with his concern about appeals going to Superior Court versus ZBA. His belief, even with the planning aspects, that appeals should go to ZBA. I did sit down with him this week and went through both changes, or the changes to both bylaws, both the floodplain one and the stormwater one, and gave him the red line copy with all my notes. So I think that helped a lot. He's helping me. There's just that kind of the back and forth between the applicability and the exemptions can sometimes get a little bit confusing. So I have written a couple, suggestions, if, or at least explanations that maybe would make it clearer. So I'll send that to him next week just to get his opinions and see if it helps to clarify, because I think it's important to also understand what misconceptions, the general public has reading it and what we can try and address beforehand. So I'm putting together some materials to start posting on our Concom page on the town's website, kind of as a, factual information. So you'll probably see that disseminated probably early next week. And if you guys have any comments on that, I won't post it till the end. So if you do, feel free to just email me back directly. And then I am going to do, I think me, Ben, and Mark will also be looking at having a PowerPoint ready for town meeting for the stormwater to kind of hit those high level points and hopefully help with the confusion and not overdo it, but definitely not underdoing it as well. So I think we are still on a good track. Even though planning didn't kind of vote, they did a kind of a straw vote and they were supportive. So I'm very happy on that aspect. I think, planning also has had similar issues with the appeals as well. So they understand where that's coming from. The one suggestion they did have was just kind of getting some more background and factual information on kind of the appeals that have gone wrong or when the bylaw has been waived by the building commissioner. So I've started to pull the file for the School Street Solar and kind of put the reasonings as to what that happened, because that's kind of the main one that was an issue in the past. And I didn't really know the specifics either, so it's nice to really understand what happened. So I'll kind of outlining that as well. And, while that isn't necessarily a concern as of present, unfortunately our building commissioner is retiring and she is leaving at the end of the month. So there's going to be a new building commissioner coming in. So I think this is also a good timing just to kind of have everything on a new basis and kind of ensure everyone's on the same page moving forward. So that is where we are with the bylaws. I think their next meeting is the 26th or 27th. Well, they'll be discussing all the warrant articles again. So I'll probably jump on just to make sure they don't have any other questions. So if anyone else wants to tag along, I can send you the agenda and meeting link. But otherwise, I think we're still on a solid path. And I think the publications and information coming out, between now and town meeting should be useful. That's all I got.
Oh, okay. The building inspector we had in town at the time that the solar field was being built over on School Street by St. Mark's. Because the building inspector in town is also the zoning officer, that building inspector particularly didn't have an appreciation for stormwater management. Quoting him was, water runs downhill, always has, always will. That's all he ever said about it. So, I think that definitely moving this out of the zoning code is a good thing. Where you have different opinions by different building inspectors with different level of responsibilities and focus and so forth. So, yeah, sorry I couldn't make it on the 6th. I had some, family issues that came up. And I
Life
couldn't attend.
happens.
It does. Okay, anybody have any questions? Comments? No? Okay. We have updated open and active sites and Breakneck Hill dump.
Yep, so open sites, I have a couple follow-ups to do tomorrow. I did some inspections this afternoon, just some erosion control aspects to fix. I'm going to reach out to JBJ Construction. They're doing the house on the corner of Route 9 and Deerfoot. Checking in on Lorenzo, because that's an interesting, the road has been there forever, but they're finally constructing the lots. So kind of working in the erosion controls along the roadway are still required, even though the road is stabilized. So working through those, I believe that the landscaping at 151 Middle has been rectified. I did talk to the homeowner today, but didn't get a chance to stop by physically. So I'm hoping we will have those back on our agenda at the next meeting with a full and complete package. So I look forward to those. Otherwise, I think we're pretty status quo on most of the other construction. There's not really anything new that has started that I can think of, except for Fayetteville Hall. I'm still trying to determine what the final plan is going to be there. It seems like there is some site design changes, but nothing has been formally submitted. So I've been following up with Michael Weishan and the John Deli Piscoli as the owners. So I still have that on the docket just as kind of checking on compliance with the approved plan basis what's being done on the ground. And then,
Question.
Yep.
151 Middle.
Mm-hmm.
That's the house that's next to the old trolley tracks.
Yeah. Yes.
So they're landscaping down the hill.
Mm-hmm.
Are they supposed to be?
No. So the goal was that they were going to be pulling it back because it was basically resting up against the silt fence. So Peter,
So that's gone.
So the silt fence is gone. So
They're landscaping down the hill.
Now down. Okay. So I hadn't.
And I don't know how that's going to stay.
It's probably not. And that was my concern in the beginning. Because the silt fence was like holding it up at first, and they had kind of landscaped it with mulch, and it just kind of builds up and up. So I think Peter Bemis let me know earlier this week or maybe last Friday that the builder had fixed it. Or he was going to and was trying to get on the agenda for this meeting, and I pushed it back because we don't even have as-built or anything yet, like no full submittal has been submitted. So hopefully for March 9th, but that's on my list for not Monday, but Tuesday to take a stop by theirs.
Yeah, take a peek.
Yeah. Okay.
I took a peek, and the siltation barrier is gone, and they're kind of landscaping down the hill. Nothing's going to grow right now. Well, I shouldn't say that. Last couple of days, things have started to grow, but I think it's going to stop before it starts again.
That was kind of the one thing that I told them not to do. So I will follow up and I'll put the eyes on it. All right. And then Breakneck Hill dump. We have submitted our revised assessment materials to DEP to take Ms. Fallon's property off those assessments. So that was just kind of the summary reports and the testing. And then the final cost estimate will be handed to us hopefully by Tuesday, so we can finally get that number in the warrant for approval at town meeting. we did get confirmation that DEP that we're strictly doing a dig and haul. So because sometimes that can be more expensive, they are planning. So the cost that they are going to propose to us is worst case scenario. And worst case scenario is because the solid waste is so commingled with the sediment. And I apologize if I don't do this explanation justice, because Taylor from TRC did it great, but I don't know if I can. It may not be feasible to separate and just take the solid waste out because of the commingle and the randomness of the commingling. So worst case scenario is you just dig and haul every single piece of sediment with the solid waste in it and truck it out. And just the cost of that, because of the amount and the tonnage, is what would drive that cost factor up. But they will also want to ensure that we don't get into a situation where that becomes the case and we now have a cost of the project that is more than we planned for. So we're planning for worst case scenario and hoping that we don't have to expend that money, but at least we'll have it appropriated if necessary. They're also ensuring that we have the proper procurement rates in there, like prevailing wage, because those are vastly different than kind of what they're used to for bidding. So double checking those before they get that to us early next week. But other than that, we are still on track. We got the amended ACO back to take the abutters property off our administrative consent order. So that's all been straightened out and signed by both the state and the select board. So we're still making progress. I'm very thankful for TRC. They have been great through all of this. They, have been communicating with DEP for us, and checking with me first before they reach out, just to make sure, everything is kind of within their means. So I'm very thankful for them and happy with the kind of trajectory we've been taking. And I think we're actually going to have it on the warrant for spring. So we did a feat.
I got a question.
Yep.
How are they getting back there?
So they will most likely come in through the community garden side, and where basically how they went in for the test pit. So you can follow the path,
Yeah.
go into the
And then go
parking
straight?
lot, head to the left, and it's where it forks off, where you can take a right and go through the research gardens, or continue going left for maybe 20 feet. And it's like, I think my rope is probably still out there. If you take a walk, the entrance is roped off.
It's still out there.
Yeah. So I would assume they'd probably go in the same way.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about the weight rating of that bridge.
Mm,
I know we built it pretty well, but I don't know that we're
I
thinking
didn't
about
think of that.
kind of endless trucking. Might require a couple of steel plates.
Good thought. I will mention it to them.
Are these 10-wheelers or trailer dumps, or we don't know?
I don't know. Well, even just excavators, right? Going over there.
Yeah, the excavators aren't the big deal. It's the trucks.
Okay.
More of a point load. I would guess that they probably going to be triaxles. Just a long big truck, not a tractor trailer. I don't see how you get turned around in there.
No.
That's a good point. They probably end up backing all the way in.
You'd have to with a trailer. I don't know about a truck.
Oh,
You might be able to turn around on the old road where it turned up to the right to go up to
Yeah.
the pond. If they were to pull up there and then back in, maybe. But think about that. There's going to be some of that kind of
Yeah.
operation going. It's a big operation.
I didn't even think about the bridge. That's a good one. Okay.
so question. With the abutter not participating in this,
Mhm.
Some of the dump is on her land.
Mhm.
So are we going to excavate and haul up to the point of her property line?
Unfortunately, yes.
So this completely breaks my common sense, Gene, that we're going to haul our part of the dump out, but we're going to leave hers. Why?
Because we couldn't come to an agreement for access on her property.
So DEP is not going to force her to clean hers up.
That is not necessarily true. They could, and they might.
So this is going to come up at town meeting for sure when we ask for money, and we're going to have answers for that. That, you know, why are we going to spend this money to clean up ours up, but hers can stay? Or if we clean ours up, is DEP going to force her to clean hers up?
Yeah. I agree. And I don't know if I can get an official answer from DEP on whether they will or not, but I can definitely try. Otherwise, yeah, it's a tricky situation. You know, I think our intent was to clean it up. Our will was to clean it up in its entirety. But I guess the liability aspect was what caught the abutter up with the access agreement. Yeah, so I'm not sure how to phrase that, but that's something I'll think about.
Yeah, so so like with anything else, sometimes when you disturb something, you wake the sleeping dog,
Mhm.
then you have a disturbed potential mess here. So as we're digging and hauling, right, her piece could be disturbed to some level, and then there could be you know, a contamination potential problem. Not that I'm proposing that we leave the farm dump there because it's on our property and we had a responsibility for it, even though it was there when we acquired the property. It just seems like you either fix the problem or you don't.
Yeah. I'll work on that too with the informational materials next week and send those to you guys for some comments, because I think that's definitely something I'll want some feedback on.
Yeah, I can see when people see the dollar side of this thing and
Yeah.
it's not being completely remedied,
Mhm.
it's going to be hard for people to move forward and vote for it and support it.
Yep. I wonder if it is also worth it, I think now more so that I think about it, to have the representative from TRC at town meeting as well to answer any technical questions.
Oh yeah, yes, absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I'll talk to him about that tomorrow.
Yeah, I guess the problem with that is depending on how many warrant articles and how much conversations occur around them, it's unpredictable as to when he needs to be there to address this particular one.
Yep. All right, I'll work that into logistics.
And what are the dates of town meeting again? March 26th?
March 25th.
5th, okay.
I don't know why I said May. It's that M's.
March 25th. Got it.
There's a lot on there right now. There's a lot of articles. Okay. Anything else on the dump? Any other questions or suggestions that I didn't think of? All right. Moving on to 84 Main Street. We're not going to kind of discuss it tonight, but we did get an initial opinion back from town council. Just a reminder that they are still privileged for now until we determine a course forward under attorney-client privilege. But there does, on a preliminary level, there does seem to be a path forward. We kind of have two options, but it does appear, as long as we kind of confirm with some more research, there may be an ability to amend the covenant area. As long as we can confirm that there was no specific town meeting vote that required this, then it wouldn't need to go back to town meeting. It sounds like maybe it would just be an approval vote from the select board. So I'm going to follow up with town council further. I kind of have a running kind of response list to ask him about his suggestions for next step forward. If we were to do full compliance, what would that look like? If we were to amend it, what would it look like? And what do we need to start doing? So that will hopefully be on the docket for March 9th. And maybe if we get a better understanding, we can have the proponents back and start to have that discussion and what that would look like.
Can you ask him if we should have an executive session to
Yes.
discuss this amongst the commission members and himself?
Yeah, that's number one on my list
Okay.
for sure. Okay. Anything else you guys can think of that you want answered by council? All right.
No, I just think that the complexity and the sensitivity of 84 Main Street, we may need some, question, answers, guidance from town council with respect to that, so that we don't walk ourselves into a situation.
Absolutely. Okay. So the last thing I have is there is a building permit application for 35 Pine Hill Road. I'm going to share my screen really quickly. So they went to ZBA for a variance for this garage. So my hesitation was, here's the pond edge. They even have it labeled, like this corner of the garage is at 100.8 feet. Obviously, the structure should hopefully remain outside of the 100-foot buffer. But, with typical construction, foundation, etc., my realistic expectation is they would go within the buffer zone. So we do have kind of two options, which is require them to file an RDA or kind of work with some erosion control conditions for inspection, prior to construction. So I wanted some feedback because of this very close line, just to be able to give a definitive answer to the homeowner.
And what was, okay, you just proposed the two alternatives.
Mhm.
So, for me, I can go either way on this. I mean, it's going to be a temporary disturbance as they're doing the building and excavating, and it's rather flat there up into the stone wall, and there's also a stone wall there. So adding erosion controls in the stone wall, and where it's 100.8 feet, it's I think that we could propose some erosion controls and so forth. But that said, Ben, who's not here tonight, he said, hey, look, an RDA is not a heavy lifting, a heavy cost thing. So we typically ask for RDAs, request for determination of applicability. So, being consistent, and, we might go that route. Me personally, I can go either way, depending on what the commission's, desirability is here.
It's their benefit for having the paper trail from an RDA, in case any questions come up in the future.
Only if they're asking for the wetland line to be confirmed. And that's a cost.
And typically when I have a project like this that's close, if we make a determination that a permit is not needed, I make a note, kind of like a memo to myself within a file for like property justifications. And I can upload something to the building permit software as well, if that's something we go in that direction.
And do we know how far they would be going into the buffer area? Have they?
Russ, is it like typically a 5-foot over dig, or do you think it would go farther?
I'd suggest you. Nice. Hey, hi.
What do you do?
Russ,
I would,
there we go. Your video was going
I
again.
know, I was waving to you. You didn't see me?
Yeah, I did.
5 feet's a good number. So then you, as long as they keep the construction traffic out of there and all you're doing is digging, it's a minor thing. You start driving the lull around there and you're sliding down the hill, well, all of a sudden it's become a big deal.
It is a single-story garage, not a big two-story house.
Yep, you're right.
So, I mean,
I
you wouldn't
I-
think they'd be running all over the place, but
No, I would like to think that they could build the whole thing within a 5-foot oversized footprint and call it a day.
Is there other thoughts or consensus if I were to put on the building permit a condition on installing and inspecting erosion controls and not going any further than 5 feet? Any construction equipment must stay on the upland side, and just kind of add it to my weekly routes of drive arounds. Or we can ask them to do an RDA to be safe. Either way.
Is the wetland line pretty obvious?
Yeah, it's a pond. It's pretty there.
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe a foot or two, maybe 5 feet at most. Because that was my first concern.
yeah, I mean, I suppose if it was a wet, boggy area down there, we might have, a difference of, more concern about, could you hear me or no?
Yeah, we could hear you.
Okay.
Just
Have
a little
more-
far away, but you're back.
Yeah. More concern about, where the wet actually is or isn't, but it is a pond, so.
All right, so I'm not hearing any discontent with not requiring an RDA, so I will approve this building permit with the conditions about erosion controls and no equipment back there.
Okay.
Perfect, thanks. So the only thing we have left is to issue the amendment for Ken's. The only thing that I had noted was the comment about Russ's suggestion about the at least one panel having a 90-degree angle and then petering out. I might do a diagram and put that in there, but that's the only thing that I had, is to at least attempt to determine if that's feasible.
So I brought that up only because, these designers, they think only in linear directions, this is what we need for this. They're not thinking about staying out of our stuff. And I think they would be accomplishing the same thing. And it might take one extra panel, but it's just on them to think more.
So is it something we don't want to condition, or we do?
I really don't care either way.
Okay,
Kind of enjoy just razzing him,
that's fair.
making him squirm.
I like it. Liz, do you feel strongly one way or another?
I liked making him squirm too, personally. It just seemed fun, but
I mean, we can still put it in that that they shall review and assess, but not required.
Sure. Make the sound barrier
Yeah.
guys squirm too.
Okay, got it. Awesome. Perfect. So other than that, I will do what I did for the last Ken's permit. We are carrying over all of the previously issued conditions for the project with the additional condition to at least look at the possibility. And if there are any differences in the resource area impact summary, I want that included as well to be updated. And then just about the waiver for the 20-foot no touch. That would be the only differences.
Sounds right.
I think this is the fastest Ken's hearing we've ever had.
And that they should start their layout from the center line of that pond or that drainage swale. He was not understanding what I said, whatsoever.
Okay.
My computer says it's here. My computer says it's there. I don't give a rat's ass.
Oh, boy.
Pull out the tape measure in the field. I know the guy that's gonna lay it out, you know?
Okay. Perfect.
He's lucky you didn't hear that rant, huh?
Nah. I'm sure he's heard worse.
Probably not during a hearing.
One never knows. All right, well, is there a motion to issue with those conditions then?
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second?
So all those in favor, let's see, Zulik,
Yes.
Gregory,
Yes.
Passamato,
Yes.
because Kevin was very nice and recused himself.
So I hope everything's okay with Mr. Pizzoni. Didn't like hearing that he's been in and out of the hospital. That's not good.
Yeah, I did talk to him today on my way home. He said he is feeling better, but he had another meeting tonight that was conflicting. So that was the main reason, but he is doing okay.
Oh, good. Glad to hear that.
All right.
Okay, with that, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved.
Second? We're in a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Zulik,
Yes.
Barrington,
Yes.
Gregory,
Yes.
Passamato.
Yes.
All right, guys, have a wonderful weekend and have a great vacation week for those who have children.
Oh, yeah. Good weekend, everyone.
Yeah,
Yep. Bye all.
we are off Monday as
Night.
well, just so everyone knows. We're closed.
Okay. Enjoy the long weekend.